Hello everyone. Today I'm going to explain what subforms are and how to use subforms in Zoho Creator. Okay, so let's start. Let's create an application with the name Subforms in Zoho Creator. I'm going to build an invoice application and show you how to make use of the subforms inside Zoho Creator Forms. All right. So basically, subform fields are like they are forms, but you use it, inside a form. So let me just create an invoice form here. So invoice form. So you just create a customer name. I'm just trying to make it simple. So normally we use this as a lookup field. So let me just make it a customer name, and what is invoice number, probably an auto number field, invoice number, and here the subform. So when you create a subform, there are two types of subforms you can create. One is a blank form, which is created specially for this form as a field. There is another option called existing forms. You can use an existing form from Zoho Creator. All right. So before we go to the blank form, I'll show you how to use the existing forms. All right. So let me just go here. Let me create a new form and call it invoice lines. Right, so let me link into invoice form. I'll put it under invoice form section. Okay, so I'm going to create a field for item name and probably a description. Quantity, probably a number field for quantity. And yeah, so an amount field, probably we call it price. And let's put another currency for calculating the total. All right, so these are the 5 fields. Now I go to the invoice form. In the invoice form, if I drag and drop the subform now, under existing forms, I see invoice lines. You can pick any form, as a subform. So if you want to go with blank form, you are free to go. But I will show you the advantage of using the existing form instead of the blank form. So let's pick existing form, click on done, and I'll call it line items here. So this is the field name for that form in this invoice form, but the actual form name for this line items is invoice lines. I always have a convention of giving different names for form as well as the actual form as well as the field name, because sometimes script, if you have the same name, you kind of messes with the script. So I just follow this convention, but you are free to use invoice lines as the name here. Anyway, so now we are going to calculate a total, so that's it. So if I go and access the application, I see the invoice form, and yeah, this is what a subform looks like in Zoho Creator. I can give a customer name like Ruben, so I can give I can enter an item name, so like item 1. So description is this is test item, quantity 2, price is quantity 1, price is 20, so 1 times 20 is 20. So I can keep on adding next item, all right, something like that. And as soon as I have this total, I can manually enter that 20 here. So this is how the subform looks like. All right, So but if you want to add some workflow, like if you want to multiply quantity times price and update the total, and as soon as this total is updated, update this, overall invoice total, we need to use delete script, so I'm going to show you how to use delete script. All right, so here you click on this field, click on the configure field actions. When you click on configure field actions, you have three different sections, actually four different workflow inside the subform. The very first one is on add row, which will be executed, or triggered as soon as you click on this add new button. Okay, and then on delete row, this will be executed as soon as you cancel a line item, like you delete that row. And then you have field based script, so that is on user input. I'm sorry, so totally subforms have three workflow. All right, so on add row, on delete row, and then on user input. So you might wonder what is the difference between this on user input for the other fields versus this on user input inside the subform. So on user input for this one will be triggered only once, but on user input for these fields inside the subform will be triggered for every row separately. That's why they have that on user input there. So for example, if I have like 1 and 20, they should show 20. If I have the same item or like a different item, if I put quantity 2 and price as 30, they should display 60. That's why they have the on user input for every field inside that subform. So this will be executed separately, and this will be executed separately, and these two will return appropriate values based on their input. All right, so let's say for this form we need to multiply quantity and price and update the total. So normally when you write delete scripts in other fields, you use input dot. All right, when I type input and then a dot, I will see all the field items. But if you notice that when you type input dot, you don't see this item name or description or quantity. All right, so for that we have a trick. Before we go there, we need to figure out where do you want to write that script to calculate this quantity and price. All right, so we need to either write the formula to multiply these two either in quantity or in price. So in this order, I guess it's safe to write it on price field, because you will enter quantity first and then price next. So that will update the total automatically. So for that, I go to price, click on user input. Okay, so instead of using input dot, I don't get this quantity or price. All right, I want to update this total field. So this is my actual formula that I want. So total should be price times the quantity field. All right, but how do I access this particular row's quantity or price? So Zoho Creator has a special variable called row. So row refers to that particular row's field value. All right, and then I have another row, and then I will update row dot total. So which means for this particular row, okay, take the quantity, row dot quantity, and then row dot price, multiply them, and assign the output to row dot total. All right, so that's what we are doing here. So row dot total equals row dot price times row dot quantity. Let's see that script in action. So what I do, let me refresh it, because this is the first time we add a script here, so it needs a refresh. So I mean, these two fields doesn't matter because they don't belong in the script right now. So let me enter quantity as 2 and price as 50, and this total should be 100. Let us say, this, so this is 100. So as soon as I add the next item 4 and probably 20, this should be 80. So this is 80. So now we have to write a script that will calculate, that will add up these totals and update this total. All right, for that what we do, we can actually use that in multiple workflow, but I'm not going to concentrate on all the workflows right now. But in this on user input, we can take all the row totals of all the open rows from this line item and calculate it. For that, what we do is we have a special task called for each record, so that you can see from here for each record. So we are going to use this one uh, to access every single row. We can be in any row. I can add like 10 items, so 3, 34, 4, 45, something like that. Okay, so I can be in any rows price field, but I want to access all the other rows as well. For that, I need to loop through all the rows. For that, what I will do, for each, now I have to give a variable name to access that. I mean, when it loops through the whole rows, for every row we cannot use the row dot, because row dot means the row that you're actually in. So I need to declare another variable, something like row record, like row rec in. So we have to use the line items form. That's what it is. This field name is called line items, so we will use that. So for that, what we will do, it's always a best practice to put input dot line items. It will also work if you don't use input, all right, but it will create problems if you have this name and the farm name, the original farm name, with the same values. So anyway, so now for this is going to, I mean, if we have like 1, 2, 3, 4 rows, this is going to run 4 times. All right, so every time it runs, we need to get the total value. All right, so we can get the total value just like this, but with this variable. So for that, row, I'm sorry, so we type it like row rec dot total. All right, so this is how we get it. Now we have to add up all the rows total. For that, we'll declare a temporary variable, uh, something like temp total. Let's declare it as 0.0. Remember my convention, 0.0, I'm not declaring it as 0 because this is a decimal field, so I have to declare decimal values so I can update it without having to do any conversion. So anyway, so I'm going to update this temp total, add up this temp total equals temp total, whatever the temp total we already have, plus row total. So this means the temp total will be, at first it will be 0. When it goes through the first record, it will be 0 plus 100, then it will become 100. For the next row, it will be 100 plus 80, 180, and it will keep on doing that for other rows as well. So now we have got the temp total here. Now we have to assign that temp total to this field. All right, so in this field, as you might have already guessed, this is not a subforms row field. This is the parent form's actual field. It's a separate field. So this can be accessed using input dot. That's right. So input dot total. All right. So we are going to update input dot total with temp total and close it with a semicolon. Now we don't have to refresh the screen again because this already has the on user input. So I'm going to add like 5 and just notice this one, what happens, 55, and if I hit tab, you see 737. So it's going to calculate everything from here and then put up here, so that's what it does. So this is how you can write scripts and and calculate values based on the subforms row field records. All right, so I can just give some name here quickly. So let me just copy test 1, this will be test 2, this will be test 3, this will be test 4, and this will be test 5. All right, let me just give a customer name. Let me call it A or B or C. Okay, I hit submit. So now what happens if I go to the invoice report? If I go to invoice report, it has the row total, but if I want to look at the items ordered, I need to go to this invoice report in the edit mode. So that I can go to this invoice report, go to column properties, drag and drop the line items, and I can pick item name, quantity, price, probably put an icon here, and probably the total as well, and I can link it to invoice lines report. If I create this and refresh my report now, what happens is it's going to show something like this. Okay, so sometimes showing the rows like this may not be good enough for you, because you may not be able to visualize data in an appropriate way. So for that, what you do is this is the advantage of having a separate form. Since these line items are as coming from separate form, you can access them right from here, invoice lines report. All right, but if you had it as a blank form, if you remember when you created a subform, you wouldn't have a dedicated report for this subform. All right, for this subform you will not have a dedicated report like this. Now we need to figure out how to look at this. I mean, for example, if I create a new invoice like for Zoho, uh, I can create another item, so I can even duplicate that item 1 and call it 2, and price I can put it like 23. Let me just submit it. Now if I go to this invoice lines report, this is going to show me item 1, this. But how do I differentiate these 5 items? They belong to a separate invoice, and this belongs to a separate invoice. All right, let me get there, but before that, if you go to that invoice report, you will see this here, right here. So for that, I guess if you have been working with Zoho Creator, you might have guessed you need to place a lookup field, a link field that will link this form with uh, this invoice form report. All right, so we are going to do that, but there is a concept called Bi-Directional Lookup field. All right, so we need to go to this form and create a lookup field for that invoice form, and probably highlight the customer name or invoice number, whatever. But if you do so, the script, the backend script, or the system, Zoho Creator system, will not know, technically, will not know which invoice to assign to. Even though you add them right here, it will not. Let me just create one field right here. So let me just call it as display type drop down. Let me call it as invoice link 1. All right, so if I go here, if I edit that record, it's going to show me invoice link. So now it will display all the records, so the script will not know which one to pick, so you have to like manually pick it. So you will see them right here under invoice lines report. All right, so yeah, you can, as soon as you add it, you will have it here, but you will have to do it manually. But there is a feature called Bi-Directional Lookup field, which will be used, which means Zoho Creator, we are telling the Zoho Creator system that make it bi-directional, so I don't have to update this invoice link every time I add a line item from invoice form. So we are going to do that same, we are going to create a bidirectional lookup using the same way, but instead of creating a new relation, we're going to create an existing relation. All right, so when you go to existing relation, you will say invoice form line items, because line items, this invoice lines form is placed in invoice form as line items. Zoho Creator will identify that and give you that. So if I click on done, let me call it as invoice link to, and if we refresh this invoice line items report, see this invoice link to, this is automatically updated. All right, that is the advantage of creating bidirectional. You click on it, you click on group by ascending. Now you have everything. Now if you want the total of this one, let's just save this one. If you want to view the total of this one, you go here, you go to this invoice line items report, you edit that report. So let's edit that report, and then go to column properties, click on total, the settings icon right next to total, click on enable the row total. That's it. And if you go to grouping and sorting, you will see this here. We can also display record count right here. So if I refresh it now, you will see the total for every group, 737 for AirBRC and 46 for Zoho. And if you create another invoice, you can also display that invoice number right here, so you will know this is for this customer's this invoice, something like that. All right. So one thing to note is, when you create the bidirectional lookup field, you should first take this form and use it as a subform, here, and then go here, create a lookup, then you will see the existing relation. All right, if you don't have a subform or lookup there, you will not see this existing relation. All right, so that's all for it now. If you have any questions, you can put it on the comments or contact us at zoho@aorbrc.com. Thanks for your time. Have a great day. Bye bye.